Everyone, Zeddy here with the last day of Titan card reviews. We have the last and the class that always gets the best cards, Warrior Let, but believe it or not, I think they got a 5-star card, and we're going to talk about that in, I believe, 4 other cards. There's a reveal later today by Brian Kibler around noon Pacific. The Legendary will be there, but we're going to talk about these Warrior cards because they're weird, just like the rest of the expansion. They don't really fit the class, but, well, some of them don't. And, well, anyways, we'll just get to the cards after I plug a giveaway for the billionth time. We're giving away 2 standard bundles, 3 mega bundles, and on my pocket, all you have to do to enter that giveaway, like, comment, the video description below, be subscribed to the channel, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, let's take a look at the cards for Warrior. And is Control Warrior back? Well, these aren't really Control-ish Warrior cards. There's still, I believe, 3 more to be revealed by Kibler, including the Legendary, which we know is an 8-mana 8/8 because the signature card got spoiled. So we know it's a big boy, but we don't know what it does. Anyways, on to the current cards. We have Valkyrie Champion, a 1-mana 1/1. That's a Warrior card, all right. It's got Rush, Death Rattle. Give your other Valkyrie champions +1/+1, and well, if you play another one of these, it'll become a 2/2. And if you somehow have more, which there's a spell we'll take a look at in a second, that'll also amplify this as well. Standalone card doesn't seem phenomenal. It reminds me of the Swarmer for Shaman, right? Where standalone card, not very good. You get 3 in 1 spell, it's really good, right? Like, that's one of the better Shaman cards, but you don't hard run the 1 Swarmer. It's just not good enough. And I kind of feel the same thing about this card. There is a card that goes with it. We'll look at next, but I feel like you play that card if you're playing anything and not this card with it. So I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 in Standard and Wild. Like, it's not horrendously bad. It's pretty close to being horrendously bad, but overall, yeah, I just don't think Warrior's looking for that. It doesn't even work in like Menagerie. It has no minion type or anything like that. The card it goes with, though, is Trial by Fire, a 7-mana epic spell, a fire spell, where you summon 5 1/1 Valkyries with Rush, and it is the same minion and all of that. So it's the same thing. If you want to combo it with like 2 more from in hand or any other way you've generated them, you can do that for 8-9 mana, whatever. And then on top of that, when one dies, give the others +1/+1, right? It's like the other minion. So you play, you get 5 1/1s for 7 mana. When one dies, the rest of the 4 are 2/2s, then the 3 are 3/3s, and then 4/4. Like, it amplifies from there. So it's a scaling, rushing removal, pretty reminiscent of like Scales of Onyxia for Druid, which was an incredibly strong card. And if you're looking for like a Control Warrior style of card, I think this fits in, right? Like, this is a good removal, probably better than Brawl on average, and you might even leave a big threat behind. You might have like a 5/5 or, you know, some 4/4s left. Like, that's significant. Plus, it's a fire spell, which can be discounted by something we're going to look at, which I think is a 5-star card that we haven't got to it yet. But this card, I feel like, is really solid. I don't know. I see Scale of Onyxia. I see Trial by Fire. They're kind of the same picture to me in a lot of ways, and I think it's really solid. You don't get the 7 bodies, of course, but they scale, and the fire synergies are there as well. It can bring back your what's the 4/4 Legendary that resurrects? I'm too all over the place early in the morning on caffeine and all that stuff. Regardless, I'm gonna give it a 4 stars out of 5 in Standard, a 2 out of 5 in Wild, where this is too slow. Basically, Wild, you're either killing early or comboing early, and this doesn't do either of those things. But in Standard, I could see this maybe making a Control Warrior have a shot, or you just play it in like Menagerie, or maybe even a Rage Warrior plays it to stabilize too. This could probably go into a bunch of different Warrior decks. Seems really good, and borderline close to 5 for me, but I am going to give it a 4. Next, we have the Furious Furnace, a 2-mana 1/3 mech. So that sucks, but it has Magnetic, also damages minions next to whomever this attacks. So Warriors got, you know, a pretty good hand buff situation going on, particular with, you know, the 2-drop that just gets out of control, gives you like a 30/30 Remornia and kills people, and then I get mad and post on Twitter and get really mad, and then we move on with our lives like we always do. But I feel like this card, yeah, you look at it on paper, not very good. Low attack for something you want to slap onto another basically mech and basically give it cleave. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, I think a Menagerie Warrior, right? Menagerie Warrior plays mechs. They also play a lot of amalgams that are all tribe, and they could go on to any of that. I feel like it's a decent addition to those decks. And just think about this. You put this on one amalgam band for relatively cheap, right? It's only 2 mana, and that has like lifesteal and rush. You can basically full heal, right? Or Ziliax. Put it on Ziliax. You get a big heal, especially if you've hand buffed it in any way, or you played Imbued Axe and the minion's already damaged. This will count as damage. There's that too. There's a lot of potential for it. In Menagerie Warrior, I'm thinking mostly exclusively, and again, putting on an amalgam, putting on Ziliax is pretty good. And we know how good Cleave could be with that Hound right now in Hunter and Deathlight. Do I think it's a super great card? No, but I think Menagerie Warrior in particular can use it. And maybe, yeah, some Ziliax abuse, some one amalgam band shenanigans happens. So I will give it a 3. It's probably more like a 2-star card because like there's not a big mech package right now in Warrior or anything like that. Their GVG mechs, by the way, are terrible. You don't want to be playing that in Wild. Trust me on that. But I'm still going to give it 3 out of 5 in Standard, 2 out of 5 in Wild. But don't sleep on this card. Menagerie Warrior might be able to use it pretty well. Next, we have the Bellowing Flames, another fire spell, 3 mana, forge card, deal 5 damage to a minion, which is okay. Yeah, it's just okay, whatever. Forge, then deal 5 damage split amongst all enemy minions. So for 5 mana, you're getting 10 damage that you can set up. And Control Warrior, if you're somehow playing that in today's game, which is unplayable at the moment, can certainly typically spend mana to forge and do that. It's a decent removal spell, but at the end of the day, it's really, again, all the forge cards, I'm really curious to see how forge plays out, because on paper, they almost all seem terrible and slow and like awkward. Like you pretty much have to forge most of these cards, right? Like 3 deal 5 is not good enough, even though it's strictly better than Shadow Bolt, right? Strictly better. It's fire. It's just the way the game has evolved. It's pretty rough, but it's not horrendous. It kills Hawksrider Rancher, which is pretty relevant and all that. So I will give it a 3. It has a shot. You don't necessarily need to forge it, but you probably need to forge it. But then it's really good. So I'll give it a 3 out of 5 in Standard, 3 out of 5 in Wild, because Odd Warrior, right? Why not? Odd Warrior's so good, but I don't know. Forge is a weird one. I'm really curious to see how it plays out, because they just don't seem amazing. And the last card is what I do think the best card revealed, the Steam Guardian, a 3 mana 3/3 elemental. So that could go into Menagerie. It's another tribe to play. Battle Cry. You draw a spell, and that's any spell. It doesn't have to be fire, anything like that. It's totally fine. But if you're holding a fire spell, you reduce the cost of a fire spell in your hand by 1. If this draws a fire spell, it should order that you draw it, and then that fire spell could get discounted if there are no other fire spells. So if you're playing only fire spells, you're guaranteed to get that mana cheap. But this is a 3-drop that specifically tutors a spell and draws it out and can give you mana cheap. That's just really solid. Control can play that. Tempo can play that. Menagerie, Enrage, all these decks could realistically run it. And I just think it's an all-around super solid, strong card that I would expect to see in many Warrior decks. I am going to give it a 5 out of 5 in Standard, even though it's not like Baroque, super sexy, insane. But I just think it slots into almost any Warrior deck you want, outside of like trying to cheat out big minions, I guess. But still, drawing, mana cheat. This isn't a Warrior card. Warrior doesn't get cards like this, like, ever. So it's pretty crazy to see how it'll go. But I do think it's a 5-star card in Standard. In Wild, I don't know. Warrior's so relevant in Wild, I'll give it a 3. Odd Warrior probably would play this if that was a relevant deck. It really isn't, but maybe even like the Skipper in Rage Warrior play. Get your battle rage, right? Stuff like that. I think it's a really solid card, and well, is Warrior back? Well, Warrior actually has like the best deck in Standard right now in Rage Warrior, but Control Warrior is dead and all that. We'll see if they get more tools, because there's one more reveal, one more review to go. So we'll see you in a couple of hours. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.